All right, good morning. So there was a woman who was woken up in the middle of the night and she realized that there was a burglar in her house, but by the time she realized it, she was right up on the burglar. So not knowing what else to do or say in the dark of her home, she thought, I'll just start yelling out scriptures. That's what I'll do. And so she goes, Acts 2:38, and the burglar froze. And she was able to dial for the police, who arrived very, very shortly. And they took the man away, and the policeman said to the burglar, how was an unarmed woman able to subdue you? And he said, well, she came up right behind me and said she had an axe and 238s. So, why not? Why not? Today is Pentecost in more traditional churches. So what I think about with regards to Pentecost is that it's 50 days, it's 7 weeks after Easter, and Jesus had said to the disciples that the Holy Ghost would come upon them. So they're all gathered, the 12 disciples, the Marys, a number of men and women are gathered in the upper room. Again, the upper room. So for us right there, we begin to metaphysically interpret and say, okay, these men and women are in an elevated place in consciousness. They're not in their ordinary downtown everyday mind. They're in a more exalted place within their own spiritual awareness. And what happens there in this room is what enables them, the power of God fully enters them fully, so that they are able to go out into the world and do their mission. And it's a little different for everybody. They're going to go all over the place, all over the known world at the time, and share what they have to share. So like the disciples, I believe that each of us came into this life with a mission, that we came here with something to do. And the first thing I got to say is that mission is beyond survival. Nobody came here to just survive. Nobody came here to just slog through it another day. You know, nobody came here to just pay their rent. We all came here with a mission, something that our soul is here to do, and it's probably bigger than anything we've thought. Because I really believe that if it's your mission, you can't do it alone. You can only do it with the help of the principal power and presence that's God. Boy, it's exciting and scary all at the same time. And so I know people who say, you know, I'm just not going to really participate fully this life. I'm just going to hold back, and next life, you know, the next life I'm really going to ramp it up, you know, but this life I'm just going to kick back and, you know, let other people do it for me and all that kind of stuff. So I've got to tell you, there's an Eastern tradition that, see, because here's the thing. People think that they can just get another life here on earth. You know, that they're just going to, you know, walk on down to the reincarnation pavilion and, you know, buy a ticket and boom, they're going to come back. But here's the thing. In Eastern traditions, what they've taught is that this is how long it takes for you to have the privilege of having another incarnation. If a hummingbird were to fly to the ocean and get a drop of water in its beak and bring it back to the tallest mountain, and drop that drop of water on the mountain, and go back to the ocean, get a drop of water, come back to the mountain, drop the drop on the mountain. As long as it would take for that hummingbird to completely dissolve the mountain into the sea is how long it takes for us to have the privilege to be reassigned another life on earth. See, so I think we don't realize that being here, just being here in this vessel, as much as people criticize their own vessel, just put that aside. Being here in the vessel you have is an extraordinary gift of God. Because there's stuff that we can do, our mission, there's stuff that we can work on, there's love that we can give and ways that we can heal and contribute that cannot happen in other dimensions because we don't necessarily get this vehicle. Right? So this is why it's important that we make the most of this trip. Right? Why it's important that we actually do what we came here to do, whatever that is. And again, I don't think that what we came here to do is a real finite kind of thing. It's not a job. It's not a job. It's something about the energy of your life and what you're putting the energy and the power of your intention and your blessing and your creativity and your love, what you're putting that into. And I think actually that goes beyond death. You know, that's something that just continues on and on and on. But it's really important that we start doing it. Now, you know, I know nothing feels better than at the end of a day when we say, as we're drifting off to sleep, today I did what I came here to do. You know, that feeling is so extraordinary. It feels so, so good to know that I put part of my life force into the universe in a way that was what I really came here to do. Now, I know that looks different for everybody. It's not a job description, like I said. It's about what we put the energy of our intention into in life. It's what we put our life force into. That's what really, really counts. Now, you know, I know for each and every one of us, that when we really start to practice deeply and sincerely, when we embrace a spiritual practice, when we start to meditate and pray and study the letter of truth, what's going to happen is what all of the early New Thought founders, going back to Charles Fillmore and Ernest Holmes and Catherine Ponder and all these wonderful people, they talk about a process of chemicalization. You know, you've heard of this? Chemicalization is when you say, I'm going to be loving no matter what. I'm going to be loving no matter what. I'm going to be a vessel for God's love on earth. And then the one person who can make you not loving shows up. Right? And you go, wow, how did that happen? How did that happen? I was so high-minded. I was so absolute. And this is chemicalization. See, this is the thing that is in the subjective that has to be released and let go for us to really be able to make progress. And so they all recognize that this is a natural part of the journey. That you know that when you venture into an area where you have not been stretched before, and this is the thing, I think our mission will always stretch us, where you have not been stretched before, what's going to happen is that I'm going to encounter our doubt, our unbelief, our disbelief. We're going to find those places where we don't have faith. We're going to find those places where we're really, really, really attached to the error. Oh boy, and let me tell you, I am really attached to some error. I have some errors that are just like best friends, don't you? I mean, I know them so well. I know them so well that they have just like moved into my home like a relative I can't get rid of. They're just there. But I can get rid of them. See, the thing is, it requires, and this is the thing, it requires my diligent spiritual practice, our ongoing practice. And so I think that's actually, knowing that is almost a double-edged sword, because part of me knows if I really pray about this, if I really meditate, if I study the letter of truth, shift is going to happen. I'm probably going to go through some more chemicalization. Oh, God, I hate that. That's so ugly. But, you know, it passes. It passes. We'll get on the other side of it. I will ultimately make some progress here. And that's the exciting thing, because, you know, wherever we start to have healing, we always experience greater freedom on the other side of it. When we have a healing of a relationship, some emotional healing, some physical healing, there's always, always, always greater freedom on the other side of it. You say, what do you mean greater freedom? Well, for one thing, it might be you might have a greater freedom because you stop worrying about somebody that you've been wishing would be different. You know, or you stop worrying about what somebody thinks about you. Or you stop worrying about where you get the money. Where's the money? That's what, you know, I think most things come down to this on the earth plane. Everybody's concerned with what are other people going to think and where am I going to get the money? If we could like heal those two things, I think it would be so much more smooth sailing, don't you? I mean, because I think that eats up an enormous amount of energy. Oh my God, what are other people going to think? And where am I going to get the money? And then for a change, where am I going to get the money? And what are other people going to think? You know? You can just spin with it and spin with it. You know, people are going to think whatever they're going to think. I remember a million years ago reading Katharine Hepburn's book entitled, very humbly, Me. And she said that she learned long ago, that everybody was going to have an opinion about what she did. So she might as well do what she liked, and then at least one person was guaranteed to be happy. And I always thought that was like the greatest thing. That was like the greatest thing, you know, because everybody has an opinion. And that in 335 will buy you a latte, right? You know, that everybody, it's the easiest thing in the world to have an opinion. But, you know, opinions are all out here at the level of effect. You know, things don't change because of opinion, really. Things change because of what we know as spiritual truth on the inside. You know, so people share their opinion, and we think, well, what do I do with that? Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. No, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, right? So you just have to, it comes with the territory. It comes with the territory. People have an opinion. Now, the truth is, Science of Mind says that God has already given the gift. So that would mean that if we would cultivate that consciousness, in fact, all of our needs would be met. This is why the important thing is to go for God, and then everything else is added. You know, that we pursue an awareness of our oneness with God, and out of an awareness of your oneness with God, everything you need, everything that would add to your life in a healthy, constructive, prosperous, good way is absolutely added. It's already been provided. You say, well, if it's been provided, why don't I have it? Because of what you're thinking now that is not in alignment with spiritual truth. And we all have it. I'm not blaming you. I'm not criticizing you. I know you're thinking, thank you for sharing. But it's because we're thinking stuff that's not in alignment with the truth. You know, it's stuff that's just moved in. It's, you know, years ago, I had this kid come and house sit for me. He was just a young guy. And he was going to come for a couple of weeks while I was off at speaking at the church summer camp up at Asilomar, you know. And he wound up staying at my house for 3 months. But, you know, it was just like what it was. It was just like, you know, he was sort of just getting started, you know, and trying to collect some money and trying to find some roommates and get into his own apartment and stuff. But he wasn't even starting at ground zero. He was like in the basement of ground zero. You know, I mean, he was so below a starting point. And so it was just okay. It's like, well, I had a room and there was a futon and you can be there. That's absolutely fine. And so, you know, I wouldn't have set out to say, gee, that's part of my mission. That's part of what God has given me to do. But this kid showed up, and when the 2 weeks were up, he had absolutely no place to go. He had called everybody he knew. He was looking for everybody who had a spot on their floor. You know, and I thought, you know, people did that for me. People absolutely did that for me. I remember living in somebody's walk-in closet for a couple of months, you know, and it was okay. It's what you had to do at the time. See, A Course in Miracles says every day the teacher of God, that would be all of us, gets up and has to ask, God, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And to who? That's really the idea of a surrendered life, that I am here for the power that's greater than me, of which I am a part, to express through me fully and freely and unencumbered. It's not my job to limit that power. It's my job to continue to open my mind and open my heart and not be all caught up in my past so that that power can continue to work through me. And so I think really it's really simple stuff. You know, I think every day we have to find what can I be grateful for, and every day who do I need to forgive? What can I be grateful for? What can I be grateful for? Who do I need to forgive? Who do I need to forgive? And yes, here, cut to the chase. Start with forgiving yourself, right? Because everybody's all, what about forgiving myself? Yes, that's an excellent idea. Please start right now. Right now, start forgiving yourself. It's essential to your spiritual progress. Because if you don't forgive you, you're not going to allow good things to happen in your life. You're not going to allow your body to heal. You're not going to allow yourself to have good relationships. You're not going to allow yourself to prosper if you don't forgive you. Excuse me. Let's see, was there anything else I was supposed to say about that? I don't think so. I don't think so. So the bottom line is I think that your soul came here with a mission. I don't know what that mission looks like, but you did not just come here to hang out. All right, so I'll tell you a story. So years ago, I was at Asilomar, and this woman who had been Ernest Holmes' practitioner, her name was Vitura Papke, and so perhaps some of you will remember her. She was about 3 days older than dirt. She was just lovely. But she was just a million years old. She was a million years old. And she was just this heart chakra with feet. She was the most lovely, lovely little person. And she had been Ernest's practitioner. And so I thought, well, that's who I want to be my practitioner. I want to go to somebody who's like really close to the source, you know? And so I went to her and I was bemoaning my job situation. I was like, blah, 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 blah. And she let me talk for a good long time. And then finally she turned to me and she said, "Are you through, dear?" And because I just I just really was into telling my story, you know? And I said, yeah, I guess I'm through. That's it. Yeah. And she said, well, and she was just like so not moved by any of it. Like she was so not impressed or moved by any of it. And she said, now let me ask you something, dear. Do you think the Father brought you here to just suck up oxygen? And I was so taken aback by that because I totally didn't expect that from her, you know. She just sort of gave me this spiritual boot right there, you know. And it's like, no, I don't think the Father brought me here to just suck up oxygen. She went, well, good. She said, now I have a little assignment for you. She said, the rest of the time you're here, I want you to say every morning, every time you think of it, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You look like a pretty smart boy. Do you think you can do that? I remember this very accurately because I went back to my room and wrote it all down, you know. And it's like, yeah. And what I had been bemoaning her with was the story of I was unhappy in a job and felt completely powerless in my unhappiness in the job. Now I understand that being powerless was actually a good thing because that was when God could really start to work. You know? So at the end of the week, without even going anywhere, I was there for a 2-week period. So at the end of that time, I had 2 job offers, for both of which sounded really, really good, and one of which I eventually wound up taking. You know, so I think that was really more what I was doing or going to start doing was more in line with my mission. And you know, often how we know we're not in alignment with our mission is that something becomes really, really painful. And it's that old thing again that pain always gets our attention, doesn't it? You know, that pain really, really gets our attention. But I also think that's predominant in the race consciousness of the world around us, that we learn through pain. But I think, you know, I'd rather learn through love and through joy, wouldn't you? I mean, I'm really willing. I am a willing participant in the path. I want to get my lessons in a loving way, in a joyful way. God, I'm paying attention, but you know how thick I am, so make it plain. You know, just make it plain, God, and I will go that way. Let's pray. So we turn our attention inward now for a moment to recognize that we are surrounded and filled with God's Spirit. That Spirit is the truth about each and every one of us. And so I speak this word for us today, that our hearts and minds are open and we are willing to know exactly what our mission is. We're not scared away by a little chemicalization. I know that the purpose that we came here for is so much more than to just be here or survive in some way. I know that we came here to give of the light and love that is within us, to be a blessing to the world, to shine and inspire and raise other people up. And I know for each and every one of us, it's even more than that. So we include in our prayer today our parents and children and friends and family members, all of our loved ones, anyone in particular that we want to pray for today. I absolutely say, let's see them in our mind's eye and wrap our spiritual arms around them and pull them into our heart and remember that God is right where they are. We let our prayer be a blessing in the world, so all that stuff that looks so bad, we say God is right there. We claim peace, we claim love, we claim harmony and reconciliation. We let our prayer be a blessing energy that's like a healing salve into all difficult situations on the face of the earth. We bless our church. We bless all churches. We bless synagogues and temples and mosques and ashrams, all paths to God. And I know we're blessed by being together. that all of us, our faith gets deepened, that our consciousness gets raised up, and that just by being together with an open, willing heart, I know that we are all healed. And so with a grateful heart, I give thanks that this is so. I release this word, and together we say, Amen.